Now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
And the boys are back in town. Hi, everybody. I'm Andrew Langer in for Larry O'Connor. Today it is 8:37 on News Talk 105.9 WMAL. We are making sense of the news. Happy Monday to everybody. Hello, Julie Gudlock.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Andrew Langer in for Larry today. Listen, joining us right now is the congressman from the 6th Congressional District. That is a very long district, Congressman. I was down in Roanoke a few weeks back. A few months back, I was doing some camping down there. But your district stretches all the way up 81, basically, doesn't it?
Absolutely. You got listeners right now out in Winchester, out in Front Royal, driving in this morning, and glad to represent them.
I appreciate that. So, listen, all kinds of things going on. We've got the latest economic news, which, frankly, I think is mixed. I don't see it as any great shakes. What are you hearing from your constituents about Bidenomics?
Well, they know that Bidenomics isn't working, that the spending that came after COVID has driven inflation to record levels, and they're paying the price at the pump. They're paying the price at the grocery store. Their paychecks haven't kept pace, and they are mad, and they want a control of this inflation, and we know that can only happen when we get this federal spending under control.
It's clearly there's that. We now have the CEI, the Competitive Enterprise Institute's 10,000 Commandments report. Regulations costing the average American family about $15,000 a year. NAM, the National Association of Manufacturers, their economic outlook, the impact of regulations on the economy, now just above $3 trillion here. I'm sure you're hearing about those. What are you up to on regulations these days, Congressman?
Well, we've got a bill up this week that I introduced that essentially ensures accountability in rulemaking, makes sure that when we pass rules and regulations that are going to have an impact on American businesses, workers, farmers, that they're signed off on by people who actually have been approved by the Senate, by representatives of the people. The unelected bureaucracy is promulgating regulations that are really, really raising the cost of businesses and families. And so hopefully when we get some accountability there, that'll reduce the number of regulations issued and ensure that these regulators are accountable to the people.
That's all good to hear, especially before the holidays. People are really struggling. But there's also the Biden administration's push to end coal plants. What can Congress do to push back on this? This is just going to lead to so much higher energy costs, and yet another thing Americans just can't handle.
Well, the administration, unfortunately, has gone on a green regulation binge where they're coming after not just coal, but also after your gas stove. They're coming after your light bulbs, your microwaves. It's pretty ridiculous how these standards keep increasing. And what does that mean? It means higher cost appliances, higher cost of energy for hardworking American families. And we've got to return to energy independence. We can do that with the bill we passed, H.R. 1. It was our energy independence bill. You know, we see the importance of the impact on everyday American families. And here at the holidays, we want to help. The Senate won't budge on it, just like they won't budge on the border. We passed H.R. 2 right after that earlier this year. We've been waiting on the Senate to act on the border. They haven't, so we're going to hold up everything, and that includes Ukraine money, because we shouldn't be spending money on protecting other borders until we protect our own.
Let me shift here. So we just got the Biden administration just got done with the negotiation on climate change. They used that as an opportunity to put out a huge, fundamentally flawed study on climate, but this is now the pretext for essentially ending coal power, inexpensive and reliable power, electricity generation in America. What's going on in Congress with regards to this, Congressman?
Well, the problem is that you have an unelected bureaucracy that's making rules that are contrary to the interests of the American people and to the wishes of Congress. So the Congress is at fault here because years ago they handed all this power off to the bureaucracy. They said, well, we can't worry about the minutia, So we'll give it to the executive branch. And the executive branch, to their credit, has been very aggressive in using that power. We need to take that power back. And so bills like the one I've introduced that is up this week to ensure that only Senate-confirmed appointees can issue regulations is going to start to rein in that unaccountable executive authority.
So let's turn our attention to the other big ticket item real quick before we let you go. This impeachment inquiry resolution. What's going on? Where are you in all of this?
Well, the Judiciary Committee on which I serve under Jim Jordan has been doing a good job of working to get information from this administration. Unfortunately, the administration has not been compliant with the subpoenas. So we're going to authorize this impeachment inquiry to give it more force when we go to the courts. The courts are going to look at the vote and the fact that the House approved this inquiry, and so the administration has to comply with it. We think we're confident we have the votes. You know, we only have a couple of vote margin here in the majority, but we think that we've laid out the facts. You know, Joe Biden has received nearly $250,000 from moneyed interests through his family's shell corporations, including $20,000 from China interests. And so we need to know exactly whose interest is he representing and get to the bottom of exactly how the money has flowed from these interests to Joe Biden.
And before we let you go, and by the way, we're talking with Congressman Ben Cline from the 6th Congressional District of Virginia. FISA reform. We're finally on the precipice of some FISA reform. Talk about that.
Well, you know, part of the problem that we've seen is the abuse of our laws that enable us to obtain data from foreigners who are possibly acting against the United States interest. When we capture those conversations, we capture conversations with Americans as well, and we need to make sure that those American conversations are protected. Those Americans have constitutional protections, so the Fourth Amendment needs to be protected. The warrants need to be obtained to get that data. That's what we're putting into the FISA process, making sure that the Constitution isn't shelved by our intelligence agencies who really have lost the trust of the American people. So putting that back in this week is going to be critical.
Well, Congressman, listen, we have to leave it there. Thank you so very much for joining us today.
Hey, thank you, guys. Great to talk to you.
It's Congressman Ben Cline from the 6th Congressional District of Virginia. We got so much more